Adult Komodo dragons are among the largest and heaviest lizards on Earth. They live in the Indonesian islands of Komodo, Rinca, Flores, Gili Motang and Padar. They mainly eat goats, pigs, rodents, deer and other small mammals. Komodo dragon attacks on humans are rare. But here are some incidents when people were attacked and survived. These divers thought they were safe when they were washed up on an island. A group of divers could not return to their boat. They had been swept by the strong currents away from it. They had drifted for about 25 miles. It was an estimated 10 hours before they came across a small island. They were finally able to come ashore at midnight. They were relieved to get out of the water and to safety. But their horror was only starting. They did not know that this was Rinca Island, where around 1,300 Komodo dragons live. As they were coming in from the water and resting on the beach, they were attacked by the animals. A Swedish woman, Helena Nevalainen, 38, was the first to be attacked. She screamed and used her diving belt to hit the animal. As the dragon was tugging at this belt, others tried to get it away from her. They managed this by throwing rocks and hitting its head. British couple, Charlotte Allen, 24, and her boyfriend James Manning, worked as diving instructors in Thailand. They were on holiday in Indonesia and were part of the group of stranded divers. This horror was to continue for 2 days and 2 nights. More dragons came and continued to attack them. They had to eat raw shellfish that they had scraped from the rocks. They had orange emergency floats spread out on the rocks. Finally, an Indonesian rescue crew spotted them, and their nightmare was over. They needed time to recover in the local hospital on Flores Island, but they were all unhurt. A man was taking photos of the Komodo dragons when they attacked and bit him. Lon Lee Ala, 50, was a tourist from Singapore. He was on holiday on a small island in Indonesia's East Nusa Tenggara province. These group of islands are famous for their Komodo dragons in the wild. The animals roam freely and are a tourist attraction. But there are designated areas for tourists to observe the animals safely. Mr. Ala spotted a few of them that were in a group further away. He was warned to keep his distance from these, as they were eating. He was so excited by this that he forgot about the safety instructions from the rangers. He moved closer to them in order to get better photos. Komodo dragons can grow up to 10 feet long and weigh up to 330 pounds. They will attack if they feel threatened, and it looks like one of them did. Maybe the dragon thought Mr. Ala was stealing his food. Either way, it all happened very fast. One of the animals lunged at him and grabbed hold of his leg. Some of the local people saw what was happening. They threw rocks at the dragon until it released him. He was taken to a nearby medical center where he was stitched up. A worker is attacked as he sits at his desk. In 2009, Mr. Maine headed to the staff office as he would any other morning. Like all the other buildings on Rinca Island, Maine's unit sat on stilts. Just settling in at his desk, he looked down. At his dangling feet lay a dragon, peering back up at him. Maine attempted to slowly withdraw his leg from the dragon's head and mouth. But he moved too quickly and alerted the animal. The dragon bit down on Maine's leg, clenching its jaw shut. Maine kicked at the dragon's neck and then grabbed its jaws with his hands. He was able to open the dragon's mouth, but as he did so he had his arm ripped open. Although Maine shouted for help, most of the rangers were in the cafeteria and could not hear his screams. Only one person picked up on the noise and came to investigate. When he saw what was happening, he alerted the other men. By this time, the smell of blood was everywhere. This was attracting even more dragons towards the ranger. Some of the men fended off the other approaching animals, while 2 of them ran into Maine's office to help him fight off his attacker. They got hold of the injured Mr. Maine and brought him out of the office. The other men kept the pack of dragons waiting outside away from them. He was carried to the island's dock, where he was rushed to Flores Island's hospital. The injuries were too much for the small medical center to fix, however. So he was flown to Bali for 6 hours of emergency treatment. He had to have 55 stitches. After 6 months, Maine was able to go back to work. So there you have 3 instances where people were attacked by Komodo dragons. They were very lucky to have survived these encounters. 3 people who were not so lucky and were killed. A child is killed while playing with his friends. This 8-year-old boy lived in a small village on Komodo Island. In 2007 he was playing football with his friends. He was suddenly grabbed by a Komodo dragon and attacked. It bit into the middle of his body, shaking him from side to side. When a man threw rocks at it, it dropped the child and ran off. Nothing could be done to save the boy, because he was bitten in half. He died within half an hour from massive blood loss. Komodo dragons that smelt his blood attacked. A 78-year-old tourist, reading von Bieberich, was on a walking holiday. He was finding that the walk was getting too much for him. He had stumbled on the path and had cut his knee slightly. It was bleeding, so he decided to stop and rest, while the others continued up the hill. When they came back, he was nowhere to be found. After an extensive search, all they could find was his camera case and one of his shoes. Komodo dragons can smell blood from miles away. So it was assumed that he had been eaten by one of these animals. A memorial cross was placed near where he disappeared. 2 Komodo dragons decided they wanted to eat this man. So they waited under the tree for him to come down. Why they decided to attack him is unknown, because this is not their usual behavior. In 2009, Muhammad Anwar, 31, was working on Komodo Island. He was at an orchard there and was in a tree collecting some apples. But as he was about to come down, he realized that the 2 animals were waiting for him. So he waited for them to go away. It was a very hot day, and Anwar had been stuck up the tree for hours. He was finding it difficult to keep his grip on the branches. Anwar slipped and fell to the ground. He did not stand a chance, as the 2 animals attacked, biting him all over his body. Other workers heard his screams, but they were too late. He was bleeding from bites to his hands, body, legs, and neck. They brought him to a clinic on Flores Island, but Anwar died shortly afterwards. So it is rare, but Komodo dragons have killed some people. For more facts about animals, click on the subscribe button.